StrayAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get to use those personal initiative, which is go get an energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to convert motivation into sustained drive. Before we get into this, I remind you all of two things. First of all, my daily motivation and Monday motivation messages guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day or your week, respectively. Guaranteed to do that. All you got to do is text me to be part of my text community, and you'll be receiving these messages as soon as we start sending them again. My number is 305-384-6894. Just send a text to that number. As soon as we start going again, you'll be getting those straight to your phone. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. Let me be clear who we're looking for in Work on Your Game University, because not everybody. We're looking for top 2% performers. Those of you who already know you're in the top 2%, and those of you who want to get to the top 2%. Let me help you understand something. To be in the top 2%, that means you got to look around at what the 98% are doing and decide that you are not going to do most of it. You are not going to be doing what most of the 98% do. So whatever you see most people around you doing, you want to be a top 2% performer. That means you're okay with not doing that. You're okay with being different from everybody else who's out there so that you can get a different result from them. If I'm talking to you, then go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Everything that you hear me talk about here on the show, anything you heard me discuss, any question that you have, any challenge that you're dealing with, you need a fresh set of eyes to look at it, to see things that you may otherwise not see. Same way that any human being, we get used to our own situation in such ways that we are blind to the opportunities right there in front of us and maybe don't even know what steps we need to take. But again, this is the reason why the consulting and coaching industries exist, the reason why people like me are in the marketplace. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Getting into the topic, how to convert motivation into sustained drive. Motivation, we know, is simply the emphasis to action. That's all motivation is. Motivation is anything that moves you to start moving, to take action, to begin or continue to do something. All of that is under the umbrella of motivation. All right, so today what we're going to talk about is how to turn motivation, which usually works in the short term. You can motivate yourself or others to do something in the short term. How to turn that motivation into sustained long-term drive and behavior, because over here we're talking about long-term success, not just short-term success. And everybody here wants long-term success. So understand that motivation alone will not be enough. It is a tool, but it's not going to be the whole thing. We need to turn that motivation into some long-term drive. That's what we're going to discuss today. Point number one. Topic once again is how to turn motivation into sustained drive. Number one, long-term goals. To have long-term drive, you need long-term goals. You need goals that are bigger than the motivation that maybe moved you to action 5 minutes ago or 5 hours ago or this morning. You need something that is bigger than that to keep you going, because motivation can come and it can go. It ebbs and it flows. So what are you looking to achieve over the next 5, 10, 20 years, over your lifetime? Those things, the answers to that question, those are your long-term goals. And you need to know what they are. They need to be clearly articulated. They need to be committed to paper. You need to be reminding yourself of them on a regular basis. These goals, again, clearly defined, written down, continually referred to. Everybody got it? Let me say it again. Clearly defined, written down, continually referred to. Let me say it one more time. Clearly defined, written down, continually referred to. That's what your goals need to be. These are not things that you just idly think about a time or two and you never come back to. That's what most people do, even when they do finally move themselves to write goals down. They never look at them again, so they forget what the goals are, because you need to look at them. The key to this is they need to be written down. And once they're written down, now you can refer back to them over and over again. And also, when you write things down, you have to clarify something that was in your head. Now you got to clarify it to put it on paper, because it might sound right in your head, but then when you have to put it down to paper and commit to it, okay, now this doesn't actually sound right when I'm writing it down. So now let me clarify this to make it make sense. Now, this doesn't take a ton of effort. It's relatively simple and easy to do this, but you would be surprised, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, at how few people actually do it. Yeah, I'm looking at you. How few people actually do it. Yes, I'm looking at you. How many of you have goals that are not written down? Exactly. All right, so if you want sustained drive over the long term, you need a reason to drive over the long term. If you're going to drive from California to Miami, you need a reason to do that, because it might be exciting when you first get on the road for the first hour or so, but once you get about an hour outside of, let's say, LA, all right, it ain't exciting anymore that you know you got the 27 more hours to go on that drive. All right, it ain't that exciting to do that. Let me see how long the drive is from Los Angeles. So let's see, Los Angeles, California, and we're going to drive from Los Angeles to let's say where I'm at in Miami, Florida, according to Google Maps, let's flip it around. According to Google Maps, it's calculating right now to tell me how long this is going to take. It's probably a pretty long trip, so I think they have to figure out the distance. So it says it takes 1 day and 15 hours. So let's just say a day and a half, a little bit more than a day and a half. This route does have tolls, they say, and there's an alternate route you can take 1 day and 16 hours, but it takes a day and a half to drive from Los Angeles to Miami, Florida. And once you get to, you got to go through Arizona, New Mexico, through damn near all of Texas, the wide way, Louisiana, a little bit of Mississippi, a little bit of Georgia. Then you get into the Florida Panhandle, and the Florida Panhandle all the way down to Miami is a long trip by itself. Just that trip alone is like 9 hours. Don't ask me how I know. And again, once you get about an hour outside of LA, it ain't exciting anymore. So what's going to drive you? All right, what's your reason for taking that trip? You need an answer. All right, so you need a reason to drive. All right, these goals are the starting point for having that reason. Since many people do not have long-term goals, it is hard for many people to maintain any type of behavior that is not easy over an extended period of time. Shall I say that one sentence one more time? This is a key point, especially for those of you who don't have long-term goals written down on paper. Since many people do not have long-term goals, so don't feel bad if I'm talking about you. Actually, do feel bad and do something about it. It is hard for people to maintain any type of behavior that is not easy over an extended period of time. Because again, you have nothing that is pulling you through that extended period of time. You only got these short-term things, which means you only do short-term actions and give short-term effort, which is why you get short-term results. This is how it works. So anything that is going to require an extended effort, an extended discipline, and extended focus, and by the way, anyone who has created sustained success, that's what they need, all three of those things. You got to have long-term goals. This is why, for example, I see people, I go to the gym. I was in the gym this morning, as a matter of fact, and I see people who come to the gym for a season. I see males in the gym for a season, and to the point that I see them, I nod my head at them, I say hello to them, maybe even get to know them because they're in the gym on a consistent basis. They'll be around for a few months, and then they disappear. I never see them again. There are guys who I would see in the gym for a year. I had not seen them all of this year. They just disappeared. I don't know where they are. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know where they're going. There are girls who I see in the gym. I'll see them for a season, and they disappear, and I don't see them anymore. This happens all the time, and I've been going to gyms for 20 plus years. Every gym I've ever been at has been like this. There's a season of people who come, and then those people disappear after that season. Now, except granted, maybe they moved. Maybe they moved to a different place. Maybe they got physically injured. Most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, people just stop showing up. They just lose their consistency because they don't have long-term drive. And when you don't have long-term goals that keep you showing up, then it's impossible for you to get long-term success. Now, people only have a short-term goal to get them showing up, if they even had that. Maybe it was just excitement. I mean, that's not even a goal. It was just exciting to show up somewhere. And the type of gyms that I've been going to, at least since I've been in Miami over the last 15, 16 years, these are gyms that are, you could call them exciting places to be. Let's just call it that. It's a scene. The gym in Miami is a scene. It's not just a gym. It's a scene. It's almost like going to the nightclub in the daytime to go to a gym in Miami, Florida. So I can understand how some men can show up for a little bit. I understand why some girls will show up. But what's going to keep you showing up? That's the question. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to convert motivation into sustained drive. Number 2, structure, systems, and processes. These are 3 words that I use a lot over here. 3 words that will come up a lot in Work on Your Game University. Long-term drive cannot sustain on motivation alone. If it could, then it'd be a whole different game. All of life would be a whole different game if you could sustain long-term drive just on motivation. I got plenty of motivation to offer you. I got daily motivation texts, weekly motivation texts. I got weekly motivation videos on YouTube. I don't have a problem giving people motivation, but you're going to need more than that. I got a book called The Mirror of Motivation. You can get it for free by going to mirrorofmotivation.com. Think of motivation as if you were eating a Snickers bar or a pack of Skittles. I actually had a pack of Skittles today only because I was very hungry and I didn't have any other snack food to eat in between meals. So I got a pack of Skittles. And they didn't even have Snickers. I would have got a Snickers bar, but the market that I went to didn't even have Snickers bars. So I don't know how you run out of Snickers bars. But anyway, the Skittles will give you a sugar rush and a burst of energy, yes, but you cannot build an entire eating lifestyle around a pack of Skittles or Snickers bars. You understand? At some point, you're going to need some whole foods. I don't mean the grocery store, but you're going to need some whole foods, some kind of stuff that sticks to your ribs, as they said. Your structure, systems, and processes are what move you through the long term of life, even when things are not really giving you what you need in the short term, or even when you've run through the motivation that you had in the short term. You're going to need something to take you through the long haul. you're gonna need some whole foods. You can't just go off Snickers and again, Skittles. All right, you can eat some Snickers and Skittles if you're hungry for 5 minutes, but you can't build your diet around Snickers and Skittles. You can't eat it for lunch, breakfast, or dinner. You get me? So the good thing about motivation, folks, is that it can move you to start executing on things like systems, processes, and structures. And when these things are put together properly, they will keep you going even when the motivation wears off or when the motivation is not present at all. That's the great thing about having the long-term goals. They will keep you going even when you're not motivated. They'll keep you going even when you're demotivated for whatever reason. You will still keep showing up. Why? Because you have a system, a structure, and a process that moves you to take the action, even if you don't, quote unquote, feel like taking the action. For example, I work out every day. I put out new episodes of the show every day. I can promise you that just on those two things alone, there are days where I don't feel like doing one or the other or both. There's some days I don't feel like recording. There are sometimes I don't feel like going to the gym, but I still go and I still record every single time. And there's never even a question of if I'm going to do it. I may not feel great about doing it, but there's never a question of if I'm going to do it. Why is that? Because I have systems and processes in place to take the place of my feelings, i.e. my motivation. My systems and processes replace my feelings. Motivation is a feeling, by the way. It replaces it and moves me to take the action whether I have the motivation or not. See, it doesn't matter if the motivation is there. See, there are some of you listening to this. When the motivation is there, you do what you're supposed to do. When the motivation is not there, you don't do it. And there are others who operate by discipline rather than by motivation. I talk about this in my book, The Third Day. You can get that at thirddaybook.com. The book's free, just cover the shipping. Who we get things done even if we don't have the motivation. If the motivation shows up or doesn't show up, it does not matter. The show shall go on. Because we have discipline showing up, we have a process, we have a system showing up, and discipline in and of itself is a process and is a system when it's executed and installed the right way. That's the reason why I wrote my book, The Third Day, to show you how to do it. Again, get your free copy at thirddaybook.com. So motivation is unnecessary to consistently show up and deliver. If you have motivation, cool. If you don't have motivation, that's fine as well, because the job's still getting done. I don't need to be motivated for my job to get done. You do not need to be motivated for your job to get done. But if you feel like you need to be motivated for your job to get done, you have a problem. You need to fix it. And I'm telling you how to fix it. My systems and your systems and processes need to be stronger than your motivation. Simple as that. And if they are not, then you're putting yourself in a dire position, because as soon as that motivation wears out, and it will wear out, now you're not going to be able to do anything. Now nothing's going to get done. Now life is moving forward and you're standing still. So in other words, you're losing. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how to turn motivation into long-term sustained drive. Number 3, big picture vision. So connected to your long-term goals, your big picture vision is about what legacy or image you want to leave behind, even when you are no longer doing the thing that you're doing. What do you want people to remember you for and know you for in whatever space that you're in, even when you step out of that space and you're not doing it anymore? So when we talk about your long-term vision, the legacy, the image that you leave, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're dead. It could just mean you moved on. Let's say you played a sport, for example. Most athletic careers are relatively short. People are out of their sport by age 30, and then some by 35, some by 40. But usually most athletes have a good amount of life to live after they get done playing their sport. So they're still around, but they're not playing anymore. So what's the legacy you left behind? What does your name mean? What's the significance of your name in the space in which you used to be as an athlete now that you're not playing anymore? It doesn't matter at all. So again, it doesn't mean when you're dead. It just means whenever you move on from one thing and go to another thing. Any of you who's left one industry going to another industry, what was the residue of your name or what your name meant to anyone after you left that last organization? So this can mean you change industries, change careers. It can mean you got another job. It can mean the current season or project is over and it's time to move to the next thing. What is the big picture vision that you want to leave behind such that you can look at it and be proud of the work that you did? What's something that you want to look at and say, okay, I know I was a part of that. I know I was involved in that. I know I'm responsible for that. I'm very proud of that happening. What do you want to leave behind such that the next wave of people who come in, even if they never heard of you, can see what you did and they can appreciate what you did? They don't have to know you or even know of you to be able to appreciate what you brought to the table. What do you want to put out into the world that if other people came to engage with it, they would benefit from what you did, even if they never knew who you were? What can you create and put out there that will benefit other people who don't even have to meet you, even know what you look like, to value what you brought to the table? That is big picture vision. All these questions that I just asked. Now, Some people call this a legacy. I call it a big picture vision. It's the same thing. What is yours going to be? That's the question. What's your legacy, your big picture vision going to be? What image are you going to leave on the minds of the people who you touch or you engage with over the time that you were out here or out there doing whatever thing that you do? Let's recap today's class, which is how to convert motivation into sustained drive. Motivation is simply the emphasis to action. So anything that moves you to start moving, take action, or begin or continue to do something that's under the umbrella of motivation. So let's talk about how this works. Again, as motivation usually works in the short term, how can you transmute it from short-term energy to long-term energy? Number one, long-term goals. You need goals that are bigger than the motivation that maybe moves you to action 5 minutes ago. What are you looking to achieve over the next 5, 10, or 20 years? Those are your long-term goals you need to have written down. Number two, structure, systems, and processes. Long-term drive cannot sustain on motivation alone. Think of motivation like a Snickers bar or a pack of Skittles. It'll give you a sugar rush and a burst of energy in the short term, but you can't build your career or your nutrition around eating candy. You're going to need something that sticks to the ribs a little bit better, something that's much higher quality. And you need to make sure you're a high quality person so that when you are attracting other people, you want high quality folks, you need to look like what they expect a high quality person to look like. Not what you expect, what they expect. And point number three, big picture thinking. Big picture thinking. Connected to your long-term goals, your big picture vision is about the legacy or image you want to leave behind, even when you're no longer doing the thing you're doing. It doesn't necessarily mean dead. It can mean you retired, it can mean you moved on to something else, whatever the situation is. It could be when you decide to change careers. It could be when you took one job and left another job. It can mean when the current season or project you're working on is over, the big picture idea that you want to leave behind. Okay? So whatever you want to call that, you call it something. Give it a label, give it a title, and make sure you are working on making yours as solid and as impressive as possible for the moment that you decide to walk away from what you're currently doing. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com if you would like to have me as your direct coach to help you with your performance, your consistency, and your results production from the inside out. We are talking to professionals here. We work with people in the sales space, people in the entrepreneurship space, authors, coaches, speakers, any of you who wants to take your game where it needs to go, and you've heard me talk and you know that my material is perfect for what you're looking for, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all